coming at you from Uptown Sound in Federal Hill. This is Uptown Live. I'm your host, DELA, and today we welcome Philly's own G-Love and his latest project, The Juice.
Hey, baby, what you gonna do tonight? Hey, baby, yeah, what you gonna do tonight?
First, we'll hear G-Love and The Juice perform live in studio, and then dive into a deep talk about all things music and life.
If you wanna go uptown tonight.
This is Uptown Live.
We're recording whenever you guys feel like doing it. No rush.
DELA on his home turf down here in Rhode Island, man. Well, we have a Federal Hill, baby.
All right.
Come on, we're gonna bring some of that East Coast nitty-gritty funk. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Are y'all ready to party down tonight?
Yeah.
On this beautiful day?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. Let's go. All tell me what you're drinking. I'ma fix you something to eat. While I serve up, you won't need a spoon. You need to clap your hands and stomp your feet and dance around and around. Man, don't you feel better? Yeah, I know you would. Come on into my house. It's alright, it's all good. It's a bebop. Only no invitation, you just drop on by. It's time to get up and throw down a funky stew. It's a low down, soul cute. It's a soul cute. It's a soul cute. It's a low down, soul cute. It's a soul cute. It's a soul cute. It's a low down, soul cute. Hit it, man. And Ryder brought the wine, G-Love brought the reefer and the moonshine. Karina brought the cobbler, Randy brought the greens, Billy brought the biscuit, and Bonnie brought the beans. Is anybody hungry? Yeah. You better get a plate. I mean, it won't take long. It'll be long gone, baby. Don't you hesitate. And don't you feel better? Yeah. I know you would. Come on into my house. Everything tastes good. It's a bebop, a lot. Don't need no invitation, just drop on by. It's time to get up and throw down a funky stew. It's a low down. home in a taxi cab. We can keep on going, don't you worry about that. Call all the kids, call all the cats. Where's that? You know, the end of the road. All night long, that's the way we flow. This ain't about a hurry. Yeah. You better get a plate. Said it don't take long, it'll be long gone. So baby, don't you hesitate. Hey now, don't you feel better? I know you would. Come on into my house. It's alright, it's all good. It's a bebop, a bebop, bebop a lot. I don't need no invitation, just drop on by. It's time to get up and throw down a funky stew. It's a low down soul cue. It's a soul cue. It's a soul cue. It's a low down soul cue. It's a soul cue. It's a soul cue. It's a low down soul cue. It's a soul cue. It's a low down soul cue. It's a soul cue. It's a soul cue. It's a low down soul cue. Flipping the news, about to give your boy G love the blues. Talking heads don't make no sense. I'm loving to do with a shape on me. I need to sing, I need to dance. A cut loose and a chance I can. I wanna get away, wild and free. Bring it on home for you and me. Come on, if I don't go crazy, I'ma lose my mind. If I don't go crazy, I'ma lose my mind. Lose my mind. Don't go crazy, I'ma lose my mind. Lose my mind. If I don't go crazy, I'ma lose my mind. Now check it out now. Got me feeling like way too much. Ain't never gonna be enough. Now somebody gonna get me enough. blazing. Now don't it sound amazing? Raise them and shake it. I can't change. It's all good, no work. It's all fitting, no faking. Midnight baking. We got the cure for all your pain or frustration now. But don't go crazy. I'ma lose my mind. If I don't go crazy, I'ma lose my mind. Lose my mind. Don't go crazy. I'ma lose my mind. Lose my mind. If I don't go crazy, I'ma lose my mind. I just can't keep these negative illusions from preventing sleep. I just gotta say bye to the lies and let the truth set me free. Quick smile will illuminate the journey, rolling fast in style. Gotta keep the fire burning till we find our peace. I just gotta survive the ride and let my love light burn free. What a thrill to watch them shine, overcoming the hell of life, straighten out a crooked line, trying to make sense of their time, always living with the pain that their hearts want me to take. That's the straighten up the spine, yeah, they're the strongest of all kind, the strongest of all kind, the strongest of all kind, the strongest of all kind. Time goes on and in the crime rhyme time for the summertime. In my mind it's a time real love come from wine, changing time. These politicians they lie to ruin lives, spoil dreams, strong your mind. The system fucked up and the world is strange. The prisons got stacked but the devils got paid. They pushing mess to kids like lemonades, but life is just a game, the rules always they change. Addiction might get you but it ain't your fault. Big pharma selling drugs like a dealer at a mall. Fentanyl, alcohol, nicotine, coke and meth. It makes you wanna scream out I love you to death. They pushing pills on us all, so don't judge the downfall. Help your brother stand tall, it's the wake up call. 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 What a thrill to watch them shine, overcoming hell of life, straighten out a crooked line, trying to make sense of their time, always living with the pain that their hearts want me to take. Lost the straight numbers back, yeah, they're the strongest of all kind, the strongest of all kind, the strongest of all kind. upside down. Well, he was mean and he was up. All it did was make you cry. Don't messed up your makeup, baby, you got shadows on your wire. Leave in the lipstick lit up on the looking glass. It only gonna take 3 words, baby, you can fix your face, baby. It'll only take just a little while. Oh, you won't need no paint or powder. What you need is a little smile. We all here in 2021 now, man. We made it through the storm, baby. We up here on the top of Federal Hill in Providence, Rhode Island, man. And this is the juice.
Yeah.
So we're gonna spread a little love around this neighborhood and take it all around the world. Are y'all ready?
Yeah.
Well, let's do this thing now. Look here. This is a sing-along, all right? So when I get to the chorus, y'all just repeat after me, okay?
All right.
All right?
All right.
Okay?
Okay.
All right?
All right.
Okay?
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got a juice. Got the real juice. Oh, tell me what you want, baby. We got the juice. Yeah. No more lies about this, no more lies about that, no more ace up your sleeve. We just lay your cards right. See how peeps had it rough. The struggle is tough. There's news on the news every day. It's enough. It's enough. The man goofy. Turn around and leave. How about we march in the street? Cause we're free. Raise our fists in the air. Cause we do care. You say you cares. We do. We got the juice. We got the juice. We got the love. We got the love. We got the drain. We won't give up. We won't give up. We all the change. We had enough. We got the juice. Time's up. Divided you fall. United we rise. It's been hard to see through all these tears in our eyes. So why do we cry? Teardrops they stain. Like Cat Stevens, we ride a peace train. No, let us be real. You must be insane in your brain. Something's wrong, man. You cannot remain. We need positive change. We're willing to regress. Power to the peaceful. We must progress. We got the juice. We got the love. We got the drain. We won't give up. We all the change. We had enough. We got the juice. on the drum, Tommy Benedetti, and Tom Airy on the drum, baby. We got a tune. We got a tune. You got the tune. You gotta write a letter, man. You gotta sign a petition. You got to get out and vote. Don't stand down. Stand up. 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 Yo, this is a letter, but also a song. And if something ain't right, then it must be dead wrong for the birds and the bees and the herbs and the trees. Every single person's sanity. Humanity's all of us. All colors and all kinds. Now we want world peace and just a little peace of mind. You see, we don't need no more wars, and we don't need no more guns. We need a better world now for our daughters and sons. We got the truth, we got the love.
What's up, everybody? My name is DELA, and welcome to Uptown Live. We just had a killer set with our guests today. My man G Love right over here, and our guitar player Van. I say our because I have the honor of being in this band with everybody, a bunch of musicians that I love, just a great collection of players. So yeah, this is the first episode of Uptown Live. Thanks for being here.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man. Thanks for being here.
The first guest is yourself.
It's funny how that shakes out, man. I think that we all realize that we stumbled into some stuff starting in August, you know what I mean? With the creation of the Juice, and I think it's been a crazy ride that we've all been on since then, especially throughout this pandemic,
Well, I told a story when we were on stage a couple times, but it's worth repeating because it's kind of funny. I mean, I got to hand it to you, DELA, because you kind of had the vision to put the whole thing together, or at least you were so hungry for a gig that you said, "Hey, let's put something together."
I think that's more right what I was, like, shit, what are we gonna do with the rest of our summer?
Yeah, because we're all shipwrecked musicians, and DELA hit me up and went on and on. Hey man, I got this idea, the Musquama Kid. Now I can say it properly, Musquama Kid, but try saying it now if you're out there listening in. Musquama Kid. I bet you can't say it.
3 times fast.
Especially if you look at it spelling, it's like, what?
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna greenlight to do a show at the Musquama Kid Drive-In in August, and I was thinking, do this. He went on and on for 5 or 10 minutes, and I was listening and I said, yes.
Yeah, I know. Your response was so killer to it, and as was everybody else in the band. I think we were all kind of in the same boat,
Yeah, when I got the call from you, and I was like, of course, that sounds amazing, let's do it. But then, kind of some time went by, and then all of a sudden the art assets for the flyer popped up out of nowhere, and I was like, oh,
it's real.
It's on
real
now. And the whole vibe of everything kind of shifted after that, I would say.
Right. Yeah. and really what it came from. So just a little backstory for me was that where we live, we're driving down to the beach every day. It's my first summer off ever. Yeah. So I'm like, well, we're gonna go to the beach every day. Great. and I started driving by this drive-in every day. I'm like,
Okay.
man, it doesn't look like anybody's doing anything over there. This big old open space. So I did a little digging, and through our work at Closer to the Sun, you know, that was really what did it. I was like, it's like, man, I know G lives close. He doesn't have to get on a plane during this pandemic, and I know that I can put together a band. So if you're down, I'm gonna pursue this.
Yeah.
And like you saying that you were down, I mean, I figured you would be because you're all about the music, but
Yeah.
like, you know, like I was like, yeah, all right, so let's do it. And here we are, what is it, 8 months later,
Yeah.
7 months later?
8 months and 7 gigs later.
That's what it feels like. No disrespect to our Hog Island family out there, but yeah. I mean, you know, there's just so much potential in this band, you know, and I think that every time we all get together, we feel that together as a group, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, just as it's evolved, just our shared language as musicians, and also our shared influences,
Yeah.
and all the different things that we can actually draw on, whether it is more traditional blues song form or like funky reggae, like, or even just like super peaking improvs. I mean, it all kind of came into focus as each next gig was like, oh wow, we can do that too, and
right,
just really kind of a diverse amount of things
yeah.
in that way.
Yeah, for me it was really cool because just all the cats that you kind of tap to be a part of the project. It was really cool because you know I had seen Van play for some years before at Bull McCabe's. I'm pretty sure at one of the Dub Apocalypse shows. I used to go by check out the Sunday Night Jam quite often, and I just remember always like really being a fan of your playing because I thought it was really unique, and especially like a lot of the staccato like really rhythmic single note style of your lead playing and everything, and it was just really unique. So I was like, that was really, and you know, and then we had connected at up in New Hampshire at Hampton Beach where we shared a stage a couple years back. So it was like just a long time coming where we got to kind of really fit each other out on stage, and then you know for me it's just a huge treat to get to play with you, DELA, and BT, and have a horn section like that's like,
Yeah.
and then just to have you know, and then so we kind of had two units going because of availabilities for different members of the group, which ended up being really cool because we got to twice as many people to learn the set.
Right.
And then
And kind of two different takes on it.
two different takes.
Yeah.
So we had, and you know, TNT, Tommy B and Tommy A on the drums.
Yeah.
And then either having Paulie Dobbs or on the keys and bass, or the ABs, Aaron and Amy Bellamy. Wow, it was just like such different flavors when we started mixing up the lineup, and then to finally bring everybody together.
You know, and I want to say something about that because like I remember we had a conversation and you were like, what do you think? I really want to bring it together. And I was like, well, like, you know, like my mind was kind of blown. Like it was so in my mind, like just based on how I've come up and the situations in bands that I've been in, 2 drummers and 2 of everything, like that had never occurred to me. You know, it really hadn't. I never thought that, you know, because it's just enough to find one great drummer.
Yeah.
Never mind having 2.
Yeah.
You know, so all of a sudden, like, we get together at your house to do that Super Juice, and it was like, holy cow.
Yeah.
It was like just a wall of sound.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because if you think about making records, you know, and you know, you have, you know, you'll have a drum track, but you also have a percussion track a lot of times, or even adding on something to beats, and you'll have organ, but you also have Wurlitzer piano, and you'll have rhythm guitar and a lead guitar, or many different guitar over there. So this band is like a living record. I mean, you have
That's a
all
great way to put it.
all the pieces, and the other thing I like is that we have a lot of group vocals, and just a lot of spirit.
Yeah.
So it's Van and I were talking before the show, like we just were down for the Orlando gig, where we did a co-headline with Citizen Cope, and Cope and I are really great friends, and we support each other a lot. But I've never seen him watch a whole set of my music ever until we just played there, and I expected him to maybe check out a song or two, but I kept looking over while we were doing our set. Was he still there? Oh yeah, he was getting closer and closer every time, and it just was a testament to how much fun we have on stage and what's going on musically. That a guy like Cope would be kind of engaged for the whole show.
I think it's totally palpable too, because everybody that I've noticed that has come around, like granted, we haven't been able to play a ton of gigs just like out there, but like the few that we've gotten to, and like people in our industry are seeing it kind of like, whoa, what's going on over here?
Yeah.
And I got that vibe from Roosevelt too. When we were in Orlando, he like came out with the biggest smile on his face. Yeah. And I was like, all right, that's what I want to see.
Dude, getting to trade licks with him, man. That was because I'd followed him for years, and I'd always seen him on the scene, and just through various channels, and just that moment of like just getting to trade some ideas and and also it was over Like a Rolling Stone, right? Which is such an epic set closer jam. So like the combination of like how epic that jam already is, and then just that whole piece, that was a real treat, man.
Yeah.
And it's so let's talk about that a little bit. Like we've all collaborated with a great many artists, right? In our respective careers. Like how satisfying is that? Like when you invite somebody to your stage into your world of music that you've been influenced by.
Right.
And get to see them react in such a way. Like, I mean, I don't know. Me personally, that's why I do this.
Yeah.
Like, it's not necessarily for the accolades from whatever. I mean, our fans are great and all that, but like, really, like, it's the people that I look up to as musicians that I want to hear from.
Yeah.
First or the most. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I would say like that's where it is, and to be a part of a project like this at this time when music is kind of like it's like the Mojave Desert of music right now.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of
I mean it's been such a unique time in that sense, because all the crowds that we've played for now, given. That's another thing I always say at the show. Yeah, usually DELA's be playing the Red Rocks tonight for a 3-night stay, and it's slightly stupid. But like all the crowds, we've just been doing pop-up shows.
right.
From any maybe 50 to 250 people at the most. But like all the crowds we played have been so hungry to see live music, and then they get to see something familiar and new, and with all these musicians that they might know from different projects in a New England area, and then just to have kind of that, to me it's like a really cool thing, because it's kind of representing, in my mind, some of the finest musicians in New England, and I don't know, I just imagine that it's like you said, I mean, it's a real silver lining during the pandemic, and for all of us to kind of unite like that and just feel that love and just so what's next, man?
Yeah. Well, like that brings up another point in my mind, which is that, so here we are, we get this thing going, and, like, we get this thing going and it's just satisfying, right?
Yeah.
It's satisfying on so many levels. And then the album that we're playing all the music from,
Okay.
for the most part,
Yeah.
gets nominated for a Grammy.
Yeah, that's
Dude, I mean, come on, man.
That's crazy.
Like, you have to look up at the sky and go,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, all right. What do we do, right?
Yeah.
We keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's got to feel great. You've had a career, a 30-year career, you know? Like, how does that feel?
It feels, it was such a surreal moment when we were down in Florida. I was doing a little solo run and then a duo run with Chuck Treese.
Oh, yeah.
And we had a day off. We were staying at my parents' house down in Sanibel. And Kelsey was chopping my hair up because, you know, like during the pandemic, I grew my hair out. And then she was like,
Gotta get
what the
cut like
fuck are you
mine, man."
doing? And then she finally started chopping my head up. So she's chopping my head up with the scissors, what she calls a haircut. And then my manager texted me, said, I think you just got a Grammy nomination. And I go, what? No, you mean we are eligible to be voted for? He goes, no, I think you might have got one. Hold on. I gotta check with the label. Blah, blah.
Wow.
And then my phone started blowing up.
Yeah.
And it was just unbelievable. So I did this thing on Instagram where I gave like an acceptance speech.
I saw that.
It was just, you know, it was just like in the moment, and I don't know, like you know, Kevin Mo produced the new record, The Juice.
Right.
And it was a real process making this record from the bottom up. You know, writing the songs, and the first day I sat with Kevin Mo in the studio, he said, well, gee, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to get a Grammy. And I think I might say I want to get a Grammy nomination. I want to make a record that's eligible for a Grammy.
Yeah.
I want to get a Grammy. And he said, well, I can help you with that. Because he's won, you know, 5 and been nominated for a lot.
So he knows what it takes.
So he's like, it has to be a really thought out process. And like every note and every lyric and every chord change and every performance from every person that's going to play on the record has to have, you know, purpose and passion and technique. And it's not, his approach to the blues is like, he's like, gee, I know that when you do a lot of your records, you want it to sound like raw, because we kind of want to have like a trash can blues sound
Yes.
and make it sound scratchy like a lot of old records. He goes, well, Kev's thing is like, look, I know you like the sound of like the Robert Johnson record and those old recordings, but bear in mind, that was the state-of-the-art technology
Right.
that they were recording on at that time. And
Right.
that was the best it could sound. So when Kev's saying when he makes a record, he wants it to be on the level of, even though it's a blues record, he wants it to be on the level sonically of a major pop record. So
Right.
like of a Justin Bieber record or a Beyonce record.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's an interesting approach
Because that's
to
state
blues.
of the art.
Right.
That's state of the art.
Yeah. And so he so that's another part of his process. So making the
Exactly.
record was almost like making a hip hop record. Like he would make beats and we would write over beats. But he was very particular about, you know, certain words couldn't, for instance, like we just played a new song today, Fix Your Face, which was the first one we worked on. And there was a line in it that said, you know, he made your mascara run. And Kev said, well, you can't, blues men don't say the word mascara. So you can't use the word mascara in a blues song.
Right.
So then we said, you got shadows on your eyes, right?
Heavy.
And little things like that, the minutia of, you know, just a songwriting process. Like, do you say and here or but?
Right. Right.
Little things like that, or you just say nothing and go to the next level.
Right.
So, and different chord changes. Well, you can't do, I had certain songs that I thought were pretty bluesy and had a certain change. He goes, nah, man, you can't, no, that's not what it is, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and that's I mean that's great stuff. Like there's a couple of things to unpack in there, but like first of all that's why you get a producer, right?
Right.
Like that's why you open yourself up, because you've been writing songs since you were 9 or 10, right? So like I mean, that's what makes you open to somebody saying, no. It's not like that. It's got to be like this.
Right.
You know, which I think is a practice discipline as well. It's hard, like being somebody like me. I came up in scholastic music, and in scholastic music, you got people telling you all the time constructive criticism. You know, like so you learn how to take that. But like if you don't go through that, and like people are telling you that you've done it correctly, like, oh man, this is great and this is great all the time. Yeah, that might be great, but that's not going to help you get to where you want to go. You know, and that's the other thing that I wanted to comment on is that I think it's heavy that you set that intention.
Set the intention.
That
yeah.
like you went into the studio, you sought out Kevmo, you went into the studio and you were like, he was like, well, what do you want to do? I want to get a Grammy nomination.
You manifested it.
Manifested it.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is a big part of everything in life. Like if you can identify those kind of goals that you want to have in whatever you do, and really set like a concrete thing, and then you have something to, you know, it's like if you're gonna swim, you want to swim out in the ocean, but you want to swim right to that buoy and then swim back. You know, you don't just, you know, so you have an exact place you're trying to go to.
Right.
But yeah, it was like intention, and just like on the note of the working with a producer, like I always think of a producer as like being a coach, and also like to go into their world, right? So why would you, you know, a step to somebody if you don't really want to go into their vibe?
Right, if you want to fight against it, yeah.
And I think it also has to do with growing up a little bit, because it to your point, it's hard to hear that that's not a good lyric, or you didn't play that well, or you didn't sing that well, or whatever the million things that we and musicians could do better, but sometimes our ego said, well, no, that was the shit, you know, but it wasn't.
Or not only that, but like, you know, like you're spending time, like, and this comes from a place inside of you, right?
Right.
Like, it's not like because somebody doesn't think that it will fit for this album that you want to be nominated for a Grammy. It's like, this came from inside of you.
Right.
Like, and it has some personal meaning to me.
Right.
And now you're telling me that it's, maybe not so good. Like, well, you know,
hard to hear.
Yeah, it's really hard to hear.
It's like Picasso painting on a legal pad. And you're like, look at my beautiful painting, and you're like, and someone just takes the sheet and just crumples it up, and it's like, you know what, maybe you should rewrite that, you know, and like, for the last 3 months you've looked at that Picasso on the legal pad, and you're like, and to the point of, your point of a producer being a coach, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've gone into a session, and like, I mean, you have, taking those tough criticisms, it is like, one of the hardest things to do as a musician, because you could be like completely on cloud 9 after a take. Yeah. And then someone will be like, you know what, that was the wrong look. And how do you respond to that? Do you flip out? Maybe the first time, and that's the lesson of like, oh, I really need to depersonalize this process of being produced so that we can attain something bigger, kind of like that team mentality of like, you know, that's the whole thing about like our crew. It's like we're all doing this like as a team, you know. And it feels like that everyone's putting their you know, their special seasoning on it.
Yeah. To attain something that stuck out to me, because so like it's kind of funny because like, yes, we all work incredibly hard, you know, to be good at our craft, but it has yielded what it's yielded so far. So yes, you enlist the help of a coach, like just like a football team. If they can't make it to the playoffs and they want to make it to the playoffs, they get a coach that can take them there.
That's right.
You know, like because they have the attributes to be able to do it. You have the goods, you have the hardware. You know, like you have the ability. Yeah. But like you just need the right guidance. Yeah. To guide your ability. And like to what you were saying, Van, like I've always taken real well to that, because like, you know, when somebody tells me like, no matter how attached to it I am, like, damn, like that was really, really, that felt great and this and that. But if like somebody's telling me something else, it's like, well, I take that as a challenge, you know, it's like, well, I can do whatever you want me to do, so
Right.
tell me something, you know, like, and that was kind of the experience that I had making my solo record with Carl Denson. you know?
Man, I was just gonna bring up that. Sorry to interject, but like,
No,
because I've had this thing like, I know you're about to get into it, but like I've had this thing with you, watching you for so many years, play with Carl and Slightly Stupid, and knowing that I didn't realize how deep your guys' bond was and how
Yeah.
big the mentorship was.
yeah,
But I of course I know and you know been a fan of Carl's for years
right,
and got to see him playing in a lot of cool places and he's you know he's a generational talent
yeah,
and I always
one of the best ever.
I always like trip when I you know see you guys on stage and then you always step up and play like a beautiful solo and I always wonder like damn I wonder if it's hard for you to like to kind of forget that there's this living legend standing next to you on the same instrument and really get into your vibe and your feeling and you always do but it's just always the thing I always like commend you like as a brother as a man like
I
like
appreciate
wow
that.
like just knowing that it must be like a step up thing alright because Carl just played a solo so now I'm gonna play a solo
Well, that was
You know what I
the
mean?
thing. Like,
Yeah.
like when he first started coming around, it was right after I had brain surgery. You know, like, and that was the impetus for it all. Was that like Stupid was going to play Austin City Limits, and it was like 10 days after they took this huge brain tumor out of my head,
Oh my god.
and so like they didn't know if I was going to be able to make it, so they
And
called
we're
Carl.
glad that you did.
Yeah, me too, amen. But like, you know, so I, long story short, I got better, or I was well enough to fly. I went and played the show,
10,
and we
11
played,
days, 11
yeah,
days.
yeah.
Holy
And we played as a 3-piece for the first time, like for real, you know? And like, I was just sitting there saying the same thing that you were just saying to me, which was, that's Carl Denson,
Like, how can
man.
I do
Like,
this?
I better go get in the shed, like, now, you know? Like, and I just started practicing all the time while I was on the road. Again, like I was back in college, you know?
I was gonna say it's when we're all young, you know, I'll speak for myself. Like when I was young and coming up, that's when you do all your kind of informative shedding for hours and hours and
Yeah.
hours every day. But once you hit the road and start doing shows and get into the thing, it's like you're playing so many shows that you just don't have the time to shed and I dude. Yeah, you're still always shedding and warming up. I'm like,
No,
the work
dude.
ethic is unbelievable. It's inspirational.
It's just because I have to, and like he's, as you said, like he is not only one of my closer friends, you know, like I mean he's godfather to my son. Like we spent lots of holidays together. Like that's a very dear family friend to me, but like it started from this mentorship of like how he was so generous with his knowledge to me, like which is not that normal, right? Like not that normal, especially I will say, I'll make a generalization and say for horn players especially, like it's kind of very uber competitive and like, you know, whatever, and like kind of there's ego and attitude and whatever, but he was just always like, oh, I'm doing this, like check this out, and I would check it out, and when he spoke, I went and did, instead of like letting it roll off my back, instead of what I was open to it, because I had so much respect for him,
Yeah.
and then on top of it, the kind of person that he is,
Yeah.
you know, like just a giving, loving person, you
sure.
know, so like, yeah, man, I mean, you know, back to the original point, which was being produced, like it was real easy for me, and maybe even for him too, like you'd have to ask him, but I'd say it was pretty easy for him to produce me, because like he would say something, I'd be like, yep, okay, cool, I'll go do that. 2 days later, whatever, however long it took, here it is, just like you asked. You know, I felt like I'm back in grade school, like bring
That's
my
almost
homework.
like that's like a best case scenario in a way of like, you know, him being able to laser precise tell you exactly what to do, and because you're in his rapport and friendship is so deep, there's already there's no questions asked. You can
Yeah.
just go back in and lace it up. You know?
Right, and I know that he's not coming at me aggressively or negatively, you know, like he's just coming from a place where he wants to see me succeed.
Yeah,
And like, I mean, what more can you say?
yeah.
Like I wish that everybody had that relationship in their lives, because it's done so much for me and made me really confident in myself to like go out there and get it. And like if I can't go get it, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna go to work and do my research and do this and do that, you know, until I do. So
The last thing I'll say about this point is that you have to be willing. You have to be like a willing student, and that's a big key part of it, because if you're not willing to, and it doesn't matter how old you are or how great you are at whatever you do, if you're not willing to put yourself back in that student role,
true.
then you're really missing out.
Oh
You
man.
know, on a new experience, and it's like, again, the greater thing in life is like, you know, just keep learning.
Yes.
Just keep putting yourself in that position to learn and be go with it like a kid goes to it, you know.
I've always thought of life as like a journey. It's not a destination. You're not arriving someplace, and that transcends into music or whatever your craft is. You know, it's
Right.
like
It's a journey.
once you arrive,
Right.
then it's over.
It's over.
Yeah, like so. Let's keep traveling. You know,
What about music is like, and even music is the worst if you look at it like, if you're trying to find the destination, because even if you had a #1 hit record, it's only gonna be a #1 hit record for a week or 2 or 3 or 4, unless you're like DELA or the Beatles. But even that, run's gonna end.
How many
So-
bands do you know that are the Beatles?
Yeah.
One. You know, like yeah.
There is no top. It's just climbing up the mountain, man.
Yeah,
keep climbing.
Keep climbing. Who can climb higher?
Keep reaching.
Or longer. Like
Yeah.
I think that was like in the case of like somebody like John Coltrane, you know, like notorious for like showing up at dinner parties like later on in life, like with his soprano under his arm. He'd like walk in, get this like far off look in his eye. Everybody's like having cocktails and sitting down for dinner. He's like, I'll be right back. You know, and like you go upstairs and shed for 3 hours while everybody's like eating.
Wow.
You
Never
know?
stop.
No, and like he was already at that point Coltrane, you know,
Right.
like he was the guy,
Right.
and that just is a testament to that very same thing, where it's like you don't if you regard it in the right way, or in the way that is going to take you to the top, you never stop. You never stop doing it. You always are working at your craft, always.
Yeah, and there has to be a subtlety to it, like a softness, a comfortability, like just even like one of the things that's come this year with the pandemic is I've been doing a lot more teaching. And I tell all my students, I'm like, leave your guitar out. Don't keep it away. Keep it inside. It's gonna stare you down every day.
Right.
It's gotta be in your ether, you know,
Right.
it has to be in your energy field, because then you're gonna pick it up.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
it's there.
yeah.
It's like and I feel like it's that subtlety of not putting all this pressure on yourself to practice, but just letting it flow.
Right.
And getting in a flow where, like, even with something technical, where you're like, okay, I've got this technical idea, but let me approach this in a way that's like totally attainable, manageable, and like I'll do it slow and I'll amp it up. And I mean, I think that, like you said about the train thing, I mean, I think he was casually carrying his axe around, wanted to just catch some vibes and like
Just in case.
just in case.
Yeah.
And like, so
Yeah.
he's like, he mastered that concept, like,
Right.
full on. And I
Yeah.
mean, that's really what it is taking that pressure off yourself. Like, not like, oh, I have to shed, but like, oh no, I'm shedding because like this is like natural, because it's already in my zone.
Yeah.
Like,
Totally.
you know?
Totally.
It reminds me of like, we'll be on tour, and then you get to the day room, and then I usually would sleep in late on the bus, everyone kind of falls in their own schedule on the tour.
Right.
And I'll usually be the last to go into the day room, and I go in when the guys were going over to the gig for load-in, and that's when I go into the day room, and I'd always take my guitar out, right?
Mm. Yep.
Just out of habit, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I never ever would play it because I wouldn't have time because I want to hit the gym, take a shower, and then before you know it, you got to go for sound check. So
Right.
there was a lot of days, like hundreds and hundreds of days, but I would just always have my guitar with me
Yeah.
for those days that I wasn't able to.
What about that
squeeze.
one time you're in the shower at the day room and you come up with an idea?
Yeah, and then you gotta have your axe, man.
And then otherwise you forget it. I don't know, like I forget half of the ideas that I come up with if I don't like speak them into my phone.
Yeah, that's such.
Thank God for that.
Oh my God, like. Yeah.
Yeah, the voice memo.
And you gotta.
Lifesaver.
Here, you gotta always take that. It always happens when you're going to sleep or when you're waking up, kind of in that lucid state. You get that melody or that hook. You gotta fucking wake up and put it in because it will be gone.
Yeah, it will
You don't, it will be gone.
Oh man, and like you wake up
You try
kind of
to
pissed, you know, like I had this great idea last night. I was convinced that I wasn't gonna forget
Yeah,
it.
because you can write those lyrics down, but you're not gonna sing them the way you heard them the first time you wrote them down.
Right.
And you'll look back at it 100 times and be like, I know the chords, I know the lyrics, but this isn't that first melody that was like the thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
that's
if it's
all-
not that thing, then it's just not that thing.
Right.
And you missed it.
And bringing it full
Like-
circle, like the intention, right? Like Kevin was talking to you about, every lyric has to be intentional when you're constructing an album to be put into the mainstream, you know, like mainstream acceptance. And that's a skill all on its own. That is just a skill all on its own. It's a very elusive one, and if you look at music that can stand the test of time, like Neil Young or the Beatles or even guys like Billy Joel, like they're just so adept at like constructing poetry that doesn't feel like poetry.
Yeah.
You know, it just feels like so approachable. You know, that's really hard for me, and it made me think of a point that I wanted to make. So, I was talking a little bit about before, like how you started at like, what were you, like 8 or 9 when you started?
Yeah, I was 8 when I started playing guitar.
Okay, and I read somewhere that you had a teacher by the name of Heidi Wolfson.
Yeah.
And she encouraged you to write songs.
Yeah. That's right.
At a young age.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about you, but I know me in particular, like I was always pushed to play other people's stuff as a horn player, like playing jazz and this and that, like pushed to play other people's stuff. The concept of like writing my own stuff never really occurred to me. I took the traditional scholastic route, and you are the other side of that, and like it's beautiful when they come together because like now we have this kind of band or you know whatever. But the point is that what's I don't know what are the benefits of each one. You know what I mean? Like maybe you could talk about that a little bit. I don't know about you. How did you start? Were you pushed to?
I mean, I started playing around the same age. I was like 7 years old when my mom went up to, Clark Street to the local music store and got the business card of the teacher there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And his approach was just like, okay, let's get Van playing. Let's what are some things you want to learn over time? But there was a switch that flipped when I was like, I would start to just write down my feelings, like and when you open up those channels of like writing down your feelings, and you're already playing an instrument, it's like the DNA of the two things cross like that, and I think that's when it really happened. So it was around that 10, 11 years old age where I was like started to first write songs.
Wow.
And I do think that it came with that just freeing up just writing down those feelings and not being scared to express that.
Right,
You know?
right.
Which I think is, I think that it's hard to teach. I mean, I think everyone should teach that it's okay to express your feelings,
Right.
write it like
Yeah,
that, you know?
of course,
Like,
of course.
I think that should be a part of I mean, teaching songwriting versus teaching how to play guitar are different things, but I do think they
Yeah.
can be completely woven together.
Well,
Right.
well, the things that teaching someone to express their feelings. So that's a really interesting
A channel. or like a-
concept because you know, and especially when I think about it for kids coming up today. Because when I was a kid, like whatever, back in the '80s, you know, but this was before YouTube and before
Yeah.
internet, so you couldn't. So there was no concept in your mind like, oh, you know, I'm gonna get followers, or I'm gonna monetize this, or I'm gonna be a big star. It was just
You just did it because it spoke to
it's
you.
a knee-jerk reaction
Yeah.
to, like you just said, expressing your feelings like as a young person.
Mm.
And that was the whole thing about finding songwriting. And I honestly, I started really a little later, probably like 15.
But still, to even have that seed planted at a young, I
Yeah.
think that's what I tripped on. Like I was like, man, like, because at that time I was just getting the technical side of how to, you know, manipulate the instrument, and like you're being taught to think about it on this broader level.
Well, you play like a real instrument. We just play like a piece of wood.
What the hell is that?
Wires and wood, baby. Wires and wood.
But you know, I mean, yeah, it's just like I kind of feel bad for kids these days that are aspiring songwriters because I just don't know how they can be pure about it, like about their intention, right? Because to it's one thing to like, you know, and again, this might be like oxymoronic compared to what I was just saying with the intention of my record was I did have kind of a commercial or a, you know, career-based goal and trying to achieve a Grammy with a record. But that being said, there's a lot of emotion and feeling, and you know, true expression in the writing. But I'm saying like if you're a kid who's 14 and you want to write songs because Taylor Swift, you know, writes her own songs and she is a huge superstar.
Yeah.
It's different, I think, in a sense from when I was a kid. Just well, I don't know why. I can't say why I started writing songs is the thing. I just started writing songs because it was a knee-jerk reaction to life, and I found this outlet, and that was a beautiful thing, and it was true. So I feel like
That's enough.
lucky,
That's
lucky
it.
like that. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying every time I write a song I don't think, oh man, it's gonna be a big hit, but there's a lot of songs, and some of them suck that I've written along the way. A lot of them suck that I've written along the way that were trying to be like, you know, all the different shit that came along that would kick your ass in your career, like whether you're slugging along on the road and the White Stripes come out and oh shit, well I can do that, or the Strokes come out, well I can do that, or the Roots had this big song, well I can do that, or you know, like Slightly Stupid or Jack Johnson came along and oh well I can do that, you know, like so there's all different things that can you know kind of affect your writing.
Yeah.
And your your approach to it, right?
Yeah.
There's outside influences, so that's why sometimes when people say, you know, what new music are you listening to? I'm not trying to listen to anything now, man. Just listen to the new shit I'm like coming up in my head because, you know, as musicians we're so used to like listening, and then once something comes in your ear and hits your brain, you know, it's in you.
Yeah, you
Whether
can't
it's-
unhear it.
Yeah, whether it's NSYNC or Bob Marley or, you know, K-pop, those things are gonna come out of you.
Yeah.
So watch
man.
out.
Yeah, that's
Watch what you eat.
yeah. Watch what you feed your soul, right?
Yeah.
Like, watch what you feed your musical brain. Like, that's interesting. And like, to your point of like listening to new stuff, whatever. Like, it is hard for people like us, especially, you know, like we're in the reggae discipline big time, and it's like the best reggae is 60s and 70s, you know, like it's the best.
And early 80s.
Yeah,
too.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, but you know what I'm saying,
I mean,
like,
some of the early 80s Roots Radics, like
What about the Yellow Man record you post on 97 Rock?
yeah,
That was 80s, right?
yeah, I think that's like maybe 81.
Oh, I love that record.
still at this point though, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, 30 years ago, not current. And it's like we're so enamored with that time or with the music that was being created at that time, which again was cutting edge for then. But like it just is timeless. So it's like you feed yourself the good stuff in hopes that the good stuff will come out. You know? And
there's spiritual truth in reggae music in the sense of like, and so much of as we kind of parallel with the songwriting thing is like there's so much intention in what was being said on those records, and also so much attention to detail in the mix, and so much continuity because it was a lot of the same players backing dozens of different artists,
playing
but
a lot of the
in the
same
same
rhythms, too.
in the same studios with the same mixing desk with the same thing, and like that's a sonic photograph.
Yeah,
And so like for us is like, you know, as reggae super fans or reggaeophile or whatever, like you're gonna open up your photo album and you're gonna go back and look at your favorite photo of your favorite time period. But it's like it is refreshing with like modern artists and to see reverence to the old era, you know, or the classic era of roots reggae, but still seeing it push forward. And I think that like that was a huge thing about when I discovered G's music, and also being from Chicago, is like your love for blues and like reverence for blues and how it's in the music itself. I mean that was so exciting to me when this band formed, because I was able to like get some of that out again, you know.
Yeah, man, because it's been so fun to play with you, Van, because of that. I wasn't really hip to the fact that Van had kind of come up playing the Chicago blues. It was from this, you know, downtown Chicago. I mean, I just didn't know. I didn't know you. I didn't know your background. I knew you just when I'd seen you, and mostly I saw you playing reggae, and so then to get to kind of we're playing our thing. Oh shit, Van's a blues player. People don't realize it.
It's Fanny Ray. Fanny Ray.
I mean, it's like, oh shit. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't even. Man, lucky me.
Blind Melon Van Gordon, you know.
It's been so fun. It's so fun to and that whatever. Like, you know, that's another fun thing. Just back to the juice real quick. For me, I've been playing in a trio or just solo acoustic most of my gigs, and then you get to have this group with so many amazing soloists, and everybody, of course, can comp and everybody can sing, and it's just like, wow, like, man, I have so much fun. Like, I don't get nervous before the show. It's like, because it's like, wow, there's so many of us, like, if you're feeling weak or something, you know you're just going to get lifted up.
Yeah, oh man, that's a great image. That's a great image, for sure. I did want to, we kind of running short on time here, but I did want to ask a very specific question about what's going on now. Like, we've all been experiencing our world for the last 4 years and all that, and I don't want to get too much into it, but I do want to talk about some this trend that I see on social media. You have been very vocal about voting, okay, and which side you stand on, which is what freedom of speech is all about, right? You can say as you want. I find it so baffling that fans are all of a sudden saying, like the ones that are against your opinions, as it relates to politics, all of a sudden they're saying that music isn't a place to speak about those things. And it really makes me angry, first of all. But second of all, it like, it makes me beg the question, have you ever listened to any music?
Anything.
Any music ever? Because
Yeah.
it's all political.
Yeah.
All of it. So what I mean, what do we do? You know, like what do we do? You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. So
Yeah, I mean, it, like, you just put a nail on the head. First of all, we all know that music has always been like the voice of dissent and the voice of,
yeah.
challenging authority, and it's been the voice of the rebels and the revolutionaries.
Yeah.
And, or at least most of the good music that we probably all have grown up loving, whether that's Bob Marley or Bob Dylan, or, people like John Coltrane breaking all the rules musically, and, just, it's counterculture, right? It always has been, right? And
Always.
So now we fast forward to the age where we're living in now, and everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's willing to put it out there because you don't need to show your face and you don't need to say it in
There's
person.
anonymity, yeah.
There's anonymity,
Yeah.
and you can say whatever the hell you want to say. And then, and then couple that with the power of the consumer. So people think that, like, well, I pay for your shows, so, or I bought your record, so, I own you in this certain sense. So people have, so that's, and it's the most just like it pisses me off more than anything else when someone says, you should stick to music and stay out of politics, or stick to entertaining. And, I've liked your music for 20 years, but, hard unfollow, or, I could give a fuck. Like, first of all, just like you said, like, if you listen to my music for 20 years, well, I don't think you really did, because you missed the whole point.
You missed
I've been
the
talking
whole
about
thing.
this shit since before I was making records, like my very first songs,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then there's the other side of it where, just honestly, like, it's been, the Trump era has obviously really polarized everybody, and it's interesting. Even I remember this shit starting up when, like, when George Bush was running for president, and I remember, like, my cousin was like a pothead, but he was voting for George Bush, who at the time seemed like a pretty fucked up guy, but now seems like a really great guy.
It's
Well,
really funny how that works.
I was like, how could you be a pot-smoking Republican? That was like one of the early things I thought about. Like, how can you vote for all these people that are trying to lock you up for smoking weed if it's just about weed?
Yeah.
And you smoke all this weed, but how can you be voting for people that are going to lock you up for that? I mean, not to say that Democrats weren't locking people up for weed too, but I'm starting to ramble. But long story short is that the other part of it that's been a disappointment is to see a lot of artists that don't want to take a stand and just kind of stay middle of the road on the shit for whatever they believe in, because they don't want to lose one ticket buying audience members or one record sale.
Right, and do you think that that's what it is? Is it financial strictly?
Oh, sure. Like, some people, a lot of people, musicians that I'm friends with, they don't want to, because I will tell you, I think I lost a lot of fans over the last, bunch of years speaking my mind on social media, and
Just crazy.
I'm good with that, though. I'm good with that, because I think it's okay to say what you want to say. You know what I mean?
I think it's
stand for what you want to stand for.
that was the exact thing that I was gonna say, is that, like, at the end of the day, you have to look yourself in the mirror and be like, did I do everything I could today to, like, put love out there and to try to make people happy, try to give people something, and like, did I do everything that I can according to what I'm about?
Right.
And, like, if you did, because that's really, like, you have to look at yourself in the mirror, you gotta look at your wife, and you gotta look at your kids. And that's it. Like, as long as as you're doing right by yourself and them, well, you know, you can please some of the people all the time, all of the people some of the time, but never all of the people all the time.
I
You
think
know?
Abraham Lincoln said that.
It's also about truth, man. Because
Oh.
like the thing that's gotten everyone so spun out, especially in politics or whatever, is the absolute, like, there's no truth. The lies that have spun everyone out, and are causing these venomous reactions of people that are just blindsided by believing lies. So you probably have a lot of people out there with the noise of social media, and they're lost in just they don't know their own truth. They can't do what you just said, which is look in the mirror and know truth. They don't feel truth. So like what comes along with that is where that gets blurred with music, is like people live through music like escapist. So if they're not listening to revolutionary lyrics, and they're not listening, like, you know,
Right.
you can't be a reggae fan for oppression. It doesn't work. You know, you can't stand.
That's funny.
But you know, that's really interesting thing you just said, because you know, because reggae has kind of been appropriated by, in my mind, by, you know, people love reggae. It's the beat is the world beat. It's the
It's
beat
infectious,
of the world.
yeah.
It's infectious, right?
Yeah.
It's the only thing that's more infectious is probably, you know, 4 on the Floor.
Yeah.
Which is like, you know, dance music. But aside from that, and Bob Marley, if we think of him being the, you know, the real epitome of everything that roots reggae stands for musically and lyrically, a lot of that's been lost with the appropriation of modern reggae, who the fans are, you know, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, you know, it's a very specific thing, right? Reggae was written because people in Jamaica are being oppressed, and also because of the religious aspect of Rastafarianism,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of messages in that music that kind of get lost just with the weed smoking aspect of
Right,
the lifestyle, or whatever it is. Or the party aspect of it.
Which is kind of always something that happens, I feel like you have a really pure message, and then there's some other extracurricular stuff that's going on around it, and it sweeps the real message under the rug, you know. And I definitely think that reggae was a victim of that for sure. I mean, how many bands have you? Oh, they're just a bunch of stoners and blah 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 blah, without paying any mind to how great the music is. You know, I know that the band that I play in, Slightly Stupid, has been pigeonholed into that for a long time, and like, nobody pays attention to what's actually being said.
But it's also
beautiful songs.
It's also like the originality aspect of it. Like the Stupids, for instance, in my mind, have been a really original take on it, and of course, you know, it kind of came, they were proteges of Bradley and Sublime.
Yeah.
But and that's a very specific kind of cultural development, generational era that created Sublime, and then kind of spawned Slightly Stupid. Slightly Stupid has a really own original approach to the elements of reggae, hip hop, and punk rock. And they're, and Miles and Kyle and all you guys, like, it's a true original situation. And of course it's had such a cultural impact to spawn a whole generation of kids coast to coast and around the world that want to play reggae music. You know, I don't really know where we're going with this, but I guess the heart of reggae is just a couple chords and a very distinct rhythmic pattern, right? Especially if you're a guitar player, right?
Yeah.
so sometimes to me, you know, some of the new shit's not so original. And
Right.
That's the main thing I think people need to be striving for in making music and writing songs, like originality.
Originality.
So,
Yeah.
And pushing
Rock Steady
content,
is doing
you
it.
know, in the lyrics.
Yeah.
Pushing
Yeah.
like back to the whole concept of this whole truth.
Yeah.
The musical truth is why we're all here, sitting here. You know,
Right.
we are championing for musical truth,
right.
for authenticity.
Yeah.
And
Authenticity.
and when you think about there's so many different voices in reggae, and yeah, there's some like partied out stuff going on that's not on the level or whatever, but I mean, we can't judge any of it because everyone has their own unique voice within it.
Right.
But we have to champion for that authenticity
Right.
and the truth and intention within in writing songs and bringing songs to people that cause social change, that they're like,
Yeah.
I'm with my brethren, I'm with my sister, and we're all here, like we're all one blood, we're all with this, like that's what it's about. I mean, and so I think that it's just that truth. It's just that keeping that truth in it is where it's at.
Yeah.
Right, and
True,
I
true.
think back to your point to combine that, like, and just say that, like, because of, like, for example, Slightly Stupid, like, what their influences were musically, they've been so true to that, and something so original has come out of that.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that I've seen it do is appeal a massive amount of people
Yeah.
that would have never discovered reggae for whatever other peripheral
Right.
reason,
Right,
which is
right.
what we were talking about,
Right.
sweeping stuff sweeping the truth under the rug. Like, it brings that to light, and like, you know, like any interested party, like in, oh man, like where did they get that sound from? Oh, they used to listen to this, and this. Well, I'm gonna go check out this, and this, and then
Right.
before you know it,
Yeah.
like artists like Don Carlos are getting revitalized, or
Right.
you know, like all that stuff.
Right.
And I think
right.
that that's a huge thing, and to see that from the perspective of being in a band like Slightly Stupid has been awesome.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like it's been totally awesome to see that, because like Van was saying, like I love reggae music, like
Yeah.
I love it.
Me too.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll just wrap up here. It's been a great talk. Like,
Yeah. We could talk all night.
I know.
We haven't even scratched the surface, it feels like, in some ways.
I know. Well, we'll have to come and do it again for sure. But so I guess in closing, what's after as we said before, the Mojave Desert of Music in 2020, what's up for 2021?
Well, we were just kind of talking about it after our session today about, you know, there's a lot of talent in this group of people, and Van and I had talked about it a couple weeks back. You know, like let's start working on some new material, because it's been, and actually this point I was wanting to make earlier, but it's been another cool thing about starting this new project has been that we all get to be in a new band for once with a limited repertoire. So when we go to do our set list, you know, we've been kind of running a set, and it's been really fun to like see the set get powerful and more polished, but still stay loose. So, you know, so what's next for this group of people? Well, I think it's to start writing some original music. So today we were just kind of talking to everybody, and everyone's got their little rig at home.
Yep.
So, you know, Amy and Aaron, so you guys come with a beat and a hook, and Van's gonna come with a beat and a hook, and Paulie and you and BT and Tommy. So hey, it's just like the Allman Brothers. Like, who's got a hit?
Yeah, who's got one?
Let's see if we can put something together, because we certainly like have a beautiful energy going, and a beautiful camaraderie, and just you know, creative support within this organic cipher we got. So
Yeah.
to me, it's kind of trying to see if we can try and make some kind of recording during this time, and then it's gonna be interesting to see what happens once shit starts opening up. But luckily, I think it's been a real silver lining for us all to come together and join forces. So, I know we're kind of all just taking it one day at a time and gonna be doing as many gigs together as we can. You know what I mean?
Amen.
So that's all we can say. But it'd be fun to come out of this whole thing with like, wow, we made a killer record. And have some new material that we all create together. I think that would be exciting.
And also look at what we did with our time.
Yeah.
You know,
sure.
look at what we did with our time.
Yeah.
We overcame odds throughout this, and I think that the juice, no matter what happens to this project, like in the future, that's what it's always going to represent to me.
Yeah.
Is that like some of my most dear friends in this band that I've known for 20 years or more. You know, like, and we're making so much fun on the stage with the music that we're playing, you know, like creating so much joy in between us all and like
expression.
Yeah, and we can all see that clearly.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, guys.
Thank you,
I just
Dave.
wanted to thank Van Martin, my man on guitar, and of course G Love. Respect to you guys. Thanks for doing this with me. My name is DELA, and this has been the first episode of Uptown Live. Stay tuned for more. Peace.
If you wanna go uptown tonight.